Greetings, citizens of the world. During last year's Democratic primary, many voters were feeling the burn. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, mounted a spirited challenge to eventual nominee Hillary Clinton, but he ultimately came up short. That should have been the first indication for the Democratic National Committee that they had a seriously flawed candidate on their hands. The sign was either missed or completely disregarded. It was quite clear that the proverbial torch was being passed to Clinton, and the deck was stacked in her favor. Why else were the only challengers on the Democratic side two guys that most people had never heard of? Even that wasn't enough, as the DNC did everything it could to ensure Clinton secured the nomination. Yes, really, and they even admitted it in court. Red State reports. The class action suit, filed by 150 Democrat voters and donors, charged Wasserman Schultz with fraud for rigging the primary process. These Bernie Sanders supporters contend they were defrauded by Wasserman fixing the results so Hillary was assured the nomination. Despite the requirements in the charter, and in spite of the multiple public declarations of neutrality and impartiality with respect to the Democratic primary process, the DNC was not neutral. To the contrary, the DNC was biased in favor of one candidate, Hillary Clinton, from the beginning and throughout the process. The DNC devoted its considerable resources to supporting Clinton above any of the other Democratic candidates. Through its public claims to being neutral and impartial, the DNC actively concealed its bias from its own donors as well as donors to the campaigns of Clinton's rivals, including Bernie Sanders. Naturally, that prompted a spirited defense, right? Nah. In light of this charge, the lawyers for the DNC took a unique defense. Yes, we rigged the election, and everyone knew it. No, seriously. Rather than arguing against the accusation, the DNC is taking the position that they were never expected to produce a fair and equitable primary. Central to the suit was Article V, Section 4 of the DNC Charter that outlines the duties of the chairperson during elections. Interesting. So you're accused of something pretty major, and your response is the equivalent of "yeah, we did it. So what?" Given this legal standard, we can now expect that any and all arguments made about an illegitimate election last November to evaporate into the ether, much like most of the Russian collusion charges. After all, the ones leveling that particular accusation more than anyone have just successfully argued that being held to any type of election standard is a ridiculous expectation, especially when they are standards drawn up by themselves. That's some interesting food for thought. Can we suddenly expect the Dems to stop throwing stones out of fear of destroying their glass house?